I come out here to look at the 20T to see. I couldn't remember where I put the solenoid because I moved it from being buried way down in here to up here. So yeah, that's where I'm gonna put it on the other one. So I'm gonna look around and see if I can find any of these little red rubber boots. I think they got them at Tractor Supply. I'm gonna have to make a trip. I'm doing some snooping around. I know I got a box somewhere that I've got a Briggs voltage regulator, and I mean, so far I'm not finding it. So yeah, let me look around. I am finding some wire goodies that probably come in handy. If not, oh, let's go look at that. Well, I tell you what, I built this a very long time ago. I believe it is out of a heat shield. We've got a choke cable, we got a throttle cable, we got an on switch, a start button, and a PTO switch. So in here we got a fuse. There should be, we got a solenoid, we got a meter, there should be a diode assembly somewhere. Let me find it, I'll get back with you. Yeah, I think it plugs into the engine. So I'm going to have to look on that engine and see if there's a diode assembly there. I spend way too much time looking for stuff. So yeah, I know I've got a pre-made dual diode regulator for that engine somewhere, but I can't find it. But not a big issue. I really don't want to use my last two Radio Shack diodes. These are rated at 35 volts, and what's the amperage? 6 amps. Them work, but I got a couple of these NTE jobbers. They're 10 amps, so we're going to use them to make a new rectifier diode regulator. So now I'll put these back away. But for now, we're going to work on grounding. The positive stuff will probably have to wait till I get the engine mounted. So let's talk about grounding a little bit. So we found out that's where I'm going to mount the solenoid. So we got a negative battery cable, and usually garden tractors just rely on this and the chassis. Well, if you think about it, for this negative to get down to this frame, it has to go through a bolt, and then to get from this frame to this frame, it has to go through a set of bolts, and then to get to the engine, it has to go through another set of bolts. So what I normally do now is I'll run separate grounds. We're going to put an end on this wire. This goes to the tail light. I put a little bit of extra long bolt on right here so I can get all these ground connections on. So we're running a separate ground to the tail light, a separate ground to the solenoid, and we're going to run a separate ground down to an engine bolt. So that way everything, and we'll do the headlights, we'll run a separate ground to those, and yeah, so everything will have a common ground point, which will be right here to the battery. So basically to do all that for the small things, all you need is terminals that'll fit 5/8 bolt, and then for the engine we're going to use some heavy copper to go from the ground point down to the engine bolt. I was thinking about using one that was pre-made, but I found some decent wire. So yeah, let me get all the ground points set up. What? You wanna go outside? We gotta go outside for a minute. It's break time. The dash on so I could measure the length of the wires going to the key switch. So the one I'm working here is the one that's going through the safeties. So we've got the coil in, solenoid. We got a dedicated ground run to it, and then we got the white wire goes into this safety switch, and then when it's closed, it goes to that one. And when that's closed, it's going to come back up to the terminal on here. I've got one more ground to run for the key switch, and then I want to do a separate ground because everything is tied in to that one ground bolt right there. So what I'm going to do is run another ground, probably to another easily accessible bolt, maybe this guy right here. That way if I ever have to run additional grounds, I won't have to deal with that bolt that's way back there. So yeah, I got a few more grounds to run, and then the dash will come back off. But I noticed something on the dash. So we got a circle here for the key switch, circle here for the headlight switch, circle here for the choke. I think the PTO switch was an afterthought because there's no circle, no markings in it at all. So that definitely had to be an afterthought. I keep misreferring to this switch. The up-down switch goes to the lift motor, which is an optional thing, as you can see by the dashed line. So yeah, that's definitely an afterthought. All right, well, I think I got the negative side of things ironed out. I made a list. We want the battery negative, which is installed, the tail light negative, which is this black wire here going back that way, the headlight negative, so this is going to be for the headlights, key switch negative, which we'll get to over here when we talk about that, engine negative is right here, and that's a heavier gauge wire. The solenoid negative, which is this wire right here, and then the engine kill negative, which is in the switch. So on this guy here, the white wire is the S terminal, which is solenoid, and then the left side black wire goes to the M terminal, and that's to stop switch on the engine, and then the other one is the actual going to ground. So everything needing a ground is tied to one point on this tractor now. So my next step is to work on the positive side. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow. I want to close it up here. This took quite a bit of work, but wiring's getting there. Thanks for watching.